Then there's the ecosystem accounts, volume 2, much more interesting as far as I can see. And volume 2 is where T will really find, I think, a lot of the answers that we're looking for in terms of the biophysical descriptions of what's happening. And the idea is that we, first of all, within Europe, have a very strong idea of what our baseline is. We haven't gone back to pre-industrial time, absolutely not. But we are seeing that within the last 10, 15 years, that several directives have established baselines, and it's against those that we will now measure progress and try to see whether we can not only halt the loss of biodiversity, but actually improve and enhance many of the ecosystems that have become eroded and degraded over the last 10 years. So the system is populated by many, from the Commission, ourselves, but CBD and others, they're all putting information in. Countries are reporting into this, research communities and so on, so like a clearinghouse. But for me, that's rather, it's okay, but it's kind of a bit dead. It's sort of old-fashioned way of doing things, put information up so people read it. What we really have to do, though, is to take that information out and engage consumers. And that's why I come back to food and water as fundamental things that people will take interest in. And then we can have a conversation about ecosystem services. So the idea of how do we engage them, through choice editing or not, through regulation, through taxation, these are all ways in which, in the future, I hope you and the kind of work that you're doing will really take root so that we have a network of ideas, a network of stakeholders who are really engaged in trying to think about how we put sort of an economic flavour around some of the things we're doing. Fundamentally, we have to share information very quickly, in an up-to-date way, and there is legislation and various other things that force us to do it in a particular way, on particular reference grids, things called Inspire and so on. But sharing is the most important issue for us. It used to be access, and in many parts of the world it is still access to information. But we've sort of gone one step further, and we can see that we have to be proactive in sharing information. And so in that regard, we created a partnership of organisations all over the world, but also with some of the leading IT industries, to bring to the kind of public setting, a global public grid, Eye on Earth, where you have the most advanced, I would say, cloud computing together with applications, platforms, and so on. But it allows you yourself to make your own applications, your own ways of bringing data together, to authenticate it, to tag it so that you can see how people are using it, and so on and so forth. My colleague Jacqueline is here, and he's got a little stand downstairs, so he can show you how it works. So it is free, no licenses, so you don't have to pay for any ArcGIS licenses or Microsoft licenses or anything like that. But to give it all away for free. So it's like a data market. You have huge exposure to your information. You can see how people will build on operational layers that are set up by organisations such as the European Union. And here's just a very simple example. One of the secretaries put this together in about 5 minutes, 5–10 minutes. And what she was able to do was to put dynamic shipping, so this is ships passing through the Öresund region, overlaid the marine protected areas, and then for those of you who are interested, we also put the JSON data over which are the wave flights. And you can see, big shock to the Danes actually at that moment, that a lot of ships are actually going over the marine protected areas, which they're not supposed to do. And then the bad news was that the wave data from the JSON information, which is one of the big sort of international programs, meant that in the future, as the wave heights are going up, there's even less room for the ships to sort of get around the marine protected areas to come down the Öresund. So this, in a sense, might force a rethink of exactly what those marine protected areas look like and their extent. So the idea of Eye on Earth is to bring many, many systems and data sets and all the satellite imaging and these operational services together, so that when you have to put things on paper, so to speak, or visualize them, you can really begin to see what's the likelihood of success. Because I think naively, one would have put the marine protected areas down first of all, in the sense that we need to protect these particular ecosystems. But the reality is, one way or another, ships are going to be moving there, there's going to be ballast, there's going to be all sorts of other things happening. So, as a kind of another go on this one, we've also produced something called Nature Watch. It's about citizen science, and here the idea is to focus on invasive alien species coming into ecosystems, having a big economic impact, but connected to national or local or NGO programs that are running. So this will be launched just before Rio. Essentially, you have an app on a phone, and you walk around, the phone knows where you are, it tells you which species you're likely to meet, you take a photograph, you identify, and then you are able to get the next expert back to tell you whether you got it right or not and build up your own expertise. But the crucial thing is it enables the national bodies to extend their capacity to do monitoring and observing. And this will probably be the first legislation in Europe that contains a citizen science component. So invasive alien species will have, for the first time, this participatory way in which people can really have an impact and also feed into what's actually happening in Europe. So finally, I'll come back to the accounting. So these are all the different data sources. So for forest landscapes, we think it's extremely important that we have very accurate information. At a generic level across Europe, we're able to produce these now at 5-meter resolution, so we can get down to individual forest types and trees and so on. Extremely important. And then we move into the accounts. So the idea is that we will routinely now produce on a monthly level, but now I think in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks' time we're going to trial daily, updates on carbon, water, and then that will have an impact on other parts of the accounting. I won't go into detail, but essentially there's a huge amount of work going into these water accounts. It is in line with the statistical world, but instead of the statistical world doing what they do, which is to come in and then downscale through statistics, what we're doing is we're feeding the accounts from below with the real biophysical data, which is validated through monitoring stations and so on. So this is what Europe looks like. This is what's covered by the water accounts. It goes out, of course, to the Volga, the Don, and out to the east, and then pretty much there. And we're also doing some things in North Africa, but not so much water. It's mostly archaic water. So the accounts themselves then can be run 3 or 4 types: soil water, surface runoff, also groundwater, productivity, and then the testing of it is done actually through the use of river discharge. So I'll just quickly show you what we get. So we're now every month producing accounts that tell you how soil water contents are changing. And of course you can go in, you can probe them, you can run models on them, and you can do details on those. So that's for some period. And then for the soil runoff, we've got full accounting there. So it's all done at the river basin level, and I'll show you the very fine resolution at the very end. So that's the soil runoff. You've got quite interesting actually when you analyse it in detail what happens in the basin. Important at the sub-catchment level that we can actually do monthly productivity calculations. So this is where the total economic available water and therefore what needs to go into ecosystems as opposed to domestic, as opposed to industry will go. But I think this is the one for me, because here we're down at the river level and you can see this pulsing. And it really matters. I mean, this is how you will know and have known in the past whether, for example, fish can get up rivers or not. Why certain species are able to proliferate, certain invasive alien species and others. So being able to go down to the segment level and to be able to validate that against real observations is, I think, in the end, what we're trying to do. Why this is important is because we have a big blueprint for water coming through, which has to take into account water ecosystems. And I think this starts to enable people at different spatial scales to have the right kinds of conversations. What's the data around water, then they'll put that into their ecosystems, and then we can do that for the carbon accounts and so on. So I think for the first time, we'll be able to see people sitting around common core data reference data and being able to make longer ecological and economic decisions. And that really, I think, is where we contribute to the Europe 2020 strategy. It's not focusing on targets per se for biodiversity only, it's really trying to facilitate a much greater stakeholder process of access to information and sharing of information so that we get smarter and hopefully a green economy in the end.